The EU wants to stop the export of Astrazeneca vaccine for the time being, says EU Internal Market Commissioner Breton, until the company fulfills its delivery obligations. According to Internal Market Commissioner Thierry Breton, the European Union does not want to allow AstraZeneca's vaccine to be exported until the company has fulfilled its delivery obligations to the EU and the EU countries. We will make sure that everything stays in Europe until the company honors its commitments, said Breton on Friday in a press conference broadcast on the internet in Spain. The export control mechanism tightened this week is the instrument for this. AstraZeneca has pledged 120 million doses of corona vaccine to the EU for the first quarter, Breton said. But the EU only receives 30 million doses. We are now in discussions with the company to understand what happened, added the commissioner. At the same time, there are strict rules for monitoring what leaves the continent. We have this instrument which the president of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, presented again yesterday to ensure that we control and have no drains, if I may say so. Breton made it clear, however, that there were no problems with other manufacturers. BioNTech, Pfizer and Moderna even exceeded their commitments to the EU. The EU Commission introduced export controls on February 1st and tightened them this week with the aim of ensuring that manufacturers supply the EU fairly. This makes export bans possible. For fear of countermeasures, these should only be imposed in an emergency. Against the background of the EU's dispute with AstraZeneca, the discovery of 29 million doses of vaccine in a bottling plant in Italy on Wednesday caused confusion. AstraZeneca on Wednesday rejected media reports that the vaccine it found was to be exported to the UK. 13 million doses are therefore intended for the international COVAX vaccination initiative, the remaining 16 million for the EU. We suspected that AstraZeneca had more production capacity in Europe than they had stated, an EU representative in Brussels told the AFP news agency. EU Industry Commissioner Breton therefore asked the Italian authorities to inspect the plant in Anagni near Rome. He did not provide any information about the destination of the vaccine doses found there. There was also uncertainty about the origin of the vaccine bottled in Italy. We now have to check whether the active substance in these vaccines was manufactured in the EU in facilities approved by the EMA, said the EU representative. AstraZeneca later stated that at least the vaccine for the 13 million COVAX doses was not produced in the EU. AstraZeneca also produces in factories in Asia that have not yet been approved for EU production. In the dispute over the delivery delays, one of the company's production facilities in Leiden, the Netherlands, recently came into focus. So far, production for the EU was not allowed there because a corresponding permit hasn't been applied for. The EU has been arguing with AstraZeneca for months because the company has so far been delivering significantly less corona vaccine than agreed to the EU countries. The Commission therefore significantly expanded the options for export bans on Wednesday. Brussels accuses AstraZeneca of preferring other countries and especially Great Britain at the expense of the EU, and Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary of Britain, confirmed that. Commission Vice Valdis Dombrovskis again highlighted AstraZeneca's failures on Wednesday. Initially, the company, as I said, had promised 120 million doses in the first quarter of 2021. And now they only promise to deliver 30 million cans, but they're not even close to that number as of today, he said. According to EU data, the company has so far delivered 19 million cans. And that now that the British mutant spreads quickly, especially among children. What had actually been known from Great Britain for a long time is now also evident here in Germany. The current figures from the Robert Koch Institute, the RKI, show a clear picture. The British mutant B117 is more contagious to children than the wild type of the coronavirus. In no age group are the number of cases currently increasing as sharply as among 0 to 14-year-olds. Germany now has a firm grip on the third wave. On Thursday, the RKI reported 22,657 new infections. That is 6,800 more than the day before. Bavaria's Prime Minister Markus Söder from the Christian Social Union spoke after the last federal state summit that it was not a third wave but a completely new pandemic. At least as far as the risk of infection for children is concerned, this statement is true. Because previously under 14-year-olds were less affected by COVID-19, there are currently more and more infections in schools and daycare centers. A week ago, the president of the RKI, Lothar Wieler, warned that infections among children were increasing rapidly. And the situation has worsened again since then. The RKI management report from Tuesday shows that the incidence in all age groups under 14 is now over 100. The incidence of older students from 15 to 19 years old with a value of 139 is even higher. The 5 to 9-year-olds with an incidence of 126 are even above the nationwide average, which is currently 113 as of March 25 it was. Overall, the 7-day incidences in children have more than doubled in the last 4 weeks, according to the RKI. The number of infected children in the age group up to 5 years is particularly alarming. Infections among daycare children reached the previous peak value with an incidence of 78 before Christmas. But it then fell again. Even in the 6th calendar week of this year, it was only 34th. Despite the fact that schools and daycare centers are more affected than ever, the openings at the last federal state talks were not an issue. In politics, the rule is still adhered to. Schools and daycare centers close last and open again first. The German Teachers Association warns against ill-considered openings, as does the Education and Science Union. Its short term is GEW. The GEW chairman Marlies Tepe now warned the editorial network Germany that schools and daycare centers would become pandemic drivers if nothing changes. Several mayors from North Rhine-Westphalia have also recognized this danger. Just like the cities of Düren and Duisburg, the city of Dortmund is currently in favor of school closings. So far, Mayor Thomas Westphal's demands have not been successful. And that although several nurseries in Dortmund are currently affected by the British mutant. It has long been known that this mutant B117 is more contagious and dangerous for children. The infection process in schools and daycare centers must therefore no longer surprise anyone at this point in time. The German virologist Christian Drosten warned in January that the second wave in Great Britain, which hit the country hard, was caused in particular by the opening of schools. The mutant B117 was practically sailed on a school wave, so Drosten said. The much-cited British research group NervTech even declared at the end of 2020 that the then newly discovered mutant B117 was more contagious for children. The number of cases from Great Britain also shows that the mutation led to numerous infections in British children. As of Wednesday, there were more than 500,000 British children infected in the UK. For comparison, in Germany, as of March 23rd, there are only around 210,000 registered COVID-19 cases among under 14-year-olds. Now Great Britain already has a total of 4.3 million corona cases, Germany only 2.7 million. Overall, the older population groups are therefore more affected than children in Great Britain. Nevertheless, the numbers from the UK clearly show the influence of mutant B117. In Great Britain, for example, around 5,300 children with COVID-19 have been hospitalized. In Germany, there have only been around 1,100 inpatient admissions. The distribution over time in Great Britain is worrying. In December alone, more than 850 British children had to be hospitalized. In January, there were even more than 1,200. This is reported by the British Parents Initiative Long COVID Kids, citing official data from the British government. Almost 4,000 British children were hospitalized in the last 130 days alone. The Parents Initiative Long COVID Kids gives children affected by COVID-19 long-term effects a voice. Long-term effects in children caused by COVID-19 have increased significantly due to the rise in the number of cases in the UK. For example, the German Social Democratic health expert Karl Lauterbach is currently warning on Twitter of COVID-19 long-term effects on younger people. Another reason for the increase in inpatient admissions of British children was the pediatric inflammatory multisystem syndrome, short PIMS, now also known as multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children, MIS-C. Around 100 British children were hospitalized with this disease every week at the beginning of the year. These figures were published for the first time by the British newspaper The Guardian in early February. The disease occurs around 2 to 4 weeks after infection. In Great Britain, according to The Guardian, the frequency has increased significantly compared to the first wave of the pandemic, and that's once again caused by the mutant, which is mainly due to the higher number of cases. The inflammatory syndrome leads to symptoms such as fever, skin rash, gastrointestinal problems, but also very serious cardiovascular disorders. In relation to older population groups, however, severe causes of COVID-19 are still rarer in children. So far, doctors have come to the conclusion that the situation is no cause for panic, but caution in any case. The mantra that schools are not drivers and that children are not at risk can no longer be sustained with a view to the figures from the UK. Meanwhile, a new problem is emerging in Great Britain. Although the overall incidence is below 60, the incidences in the 5 to 14-year-olds are also currently increasing. The country reopened schools on Monday, March 8th, after about 2 months in lockdown. And we see the same here as I stated earlier. And so we will have to deal with this situation for most of this year, I'm quite sure. But if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.